The boy in the ice field. The wind screamed across the ice field. Snow blew like sharp knives. The sky was dark, and the cold was deep. Even the strongest animals stayed hidden. Nothing should have been walking out there. Nothing should have survived. But she saw him. Jera stood on the edge of the hill, her silver cloak wrapped tight around her. Her blue skin was almost white in the storm. Her long black hair blew in the wind. She was alone. She had gone out to hunt. She needed food for her tribe. Then she saw a shape in the snow. At first, she thought it was an animal, maybe a snow beast frozen in place. But it wasn't. It was too small, and it was moving. Jera ran. Her boots hit the ice hard. She didn't stop. She pushed through the storm. Snow hit her face, but she didn't care. When she reached him, she stopped. It was a boy, a human boy. His lips were blue. His eyes were barely open. His clothes were torn. His body was shaking badly. She could hear him breathe. Soft, weak, like a whisper. Jera looked around. No one else was there. She knew she should leave him. Her tribe hated humans. They blamed them for the burned forests and the dead rivers. Humans had come from the sky and taken so much. If she helped him, she could be punished. She could be exiled. But she couldn't walk away. Jera dropped to her knees. She touched his cheek. It was ice cold. "Don't die," she whispered. She pulled him close, wrapping him in her cloak. His skin burned from the cold. She could feel his heartbeat, slow, but still there. She had to move fast. She lifted him. He was light, like he hadn't eaten in days. She used her strength and began the long walk back to the cave. Jera's cave was hidden inside the cliffs. Only she knew the path. She ducked into the opening and laid the boy down near the fire. The flames were small but warm. She placed her hands above him and closed her eyes. A soft blue light came from her palms. It passed into the boy's chest. His breathing became deeper. His shaking slowed. But he was still cold, still weak. Jera covered him with thick fur and sat beside him. She watched him. He looked young, maybe her age, 15 or 16. His face was pale, his hair dark and messy. His hands were red from frostbite. But he had a kind face, a soft face, not like the soldiers in the stories. He opened his eyes, just a little. Jera leaned close. "Don't speak," she said gently. "You are safe now." But the boy stared at her. His lips moved. "Where am I?" he whispered. Jera didn't answer. She didn't know what to say. How could she explain? Suddenly, the boy's eyes widened. His body jumped. He gasped. "No, no, don't touch me," he cried. Jera pulled back, surprised. "I'm not hurting you," she said. "You were freezing. I helped you." But the boy was shaking again, not from cold this time, but from fear. Then they both heard something outside. Crunch, crunch. Footsteps, heavy ones. Jera jumped up. Her heart raced. She grabbed her spear and ran to the cave entrance. She peeked out. 3 shadows were moving near the rocks. Tribal hunters. Her people. They were close. If they found the boy, they would kill him. She turned back. The boy was trying to sit up, but he was too weak. Jera rushed to him. "You have to be quiet," she said. His eyes looked confused, scared. "I don't understand," he whispered. Jera placed a finger on his lips. "She," she said. "Trust me." She covered him with more fur and moved him behind the rocks near the fire. She made it look like no one was there. Then she sat in front, pretending she was alone. The hunters passed outside. One of them shouted her name. "Jera, are you in there?" She stood up. "I'm here," she replied. They didn't come in. They were just checking. After a few minutes, the footsteps faded. Jera let out a deep breath. She turned to the boy. He had fallen asleep. Outside, the storm grew stronger. Inside the cave, A secret had started. Jera had saved a human. A forbidden act. But something inside her heart told her this was just the beginning. And the world would never be the same again. He doesn't remember Earth. The fire cracked softly in the corner of the cave. Snow piled up at the entrance. Wind howled just outside. But inside, everything was still. Jera sat quietly, watching the human boy sleep. His chest rose and fell slowly. His skin had color now. Not much, but better than before. He was alive. She had done that. But her heart was not calm. She had broken the rule. She had helped a human. Her people would call her a traitor if they found out. But still, something about the boy, something about the way he looked at her before he fell asleep, it stayed in her mind. He wasn't like the humans in the stories. He looked lost, afraid, like he didn't even know who he was. The next morning, he woke up. He tried to sit up but groaned and held his head. Jera was ready with warm water and some soft root food. She held the cup near his lips. He blinked at her, confused. "What is this place?" "A cave," she said. He looked around slowly. "Where am I?" "You're in the snowlands," she answered, "far from any city or ship." He stared at the fire. "City? Ship?" Jera narrowed her eyes. "You don't know." The boy looked down at his shaking hands. I don't know anything." Jera's heart dropped. "You don't remember who you are?" she asked. He shook his head. "I don't know my name. I don't know why I was out there. I don't even know what planet this is." Jera stepped back, shocked. He wasn't lying. His face was empty. No memories, no tricks, just silence and confusion. "Do you remember Earth?" she asked. He frowned. "Earth? What's that?" Jera walked toward the back of the cave and opened a small metal box. She took out a small smooth rock. It glowed gently in her hand. She passed it to the boy. He looked at it. "It's warm." "It's from a crash," she said, "years ago when the skyfire came." He stared into the glow. For a moment, he froze. Then he whispered, "Fire, falling from the sky." Jera leaned forward. "Do you remember?" His hands began to shake again. A ship. Noise. Screaming. He grabbed his head. Jera rushed forward. "It's okay. Stop. Don't force it." But it was too late. His eyes rolled back, and he passed out again. He woke up 2 hours later, sweating. Jera gave him more water. This time, he sat up slowly. "I saw something," he whispered. "A ship. Metal walls. A badge. With stars." Jera nodded. "You came from space." "I was on a mission," he said softly. "But something went wrong. Fire. An explosion." Jera helped him sit better. "You crashed," she said. "That's why you were in the snow." The boy looked at her with tired eyes. "What's your name?" "Jera," she answered. "Jera," he repeated, slowly. "I'm not supposed to help you," she said quietly. He looked down. "I'm sorry." She blinked. "Why are you sorry?" "Because I don't know who I am. Or what I did. I don't even know if I'm a good person." Jera said nothing. She just watched him. For the first time in her life, a human had said sorry. Not as a trick, not to win anything. Just from the heart. That night, Jera returned to the crash site. She walked across the ice quickly. She didn't have much time. She found the frozen area where she had discovered him. There were metal parts in the snow, broken pieces of a pod. She dug through the snow and pulled out a small silver device with a blue button. It was cracked but still glowing faintly. She took it and ran back to the cave. When the boy saw it, he flinched. "I know that," he said. "That's from my suit." Jera handed it to him carefully. "Do you know what it does?" He held it, stared at it, then pressed the button. A small light blinked 3 times, then stopped. "It's a beacon," he said slowly. "It sends a signal, a rescue signal." Jera stood up, alarmed. You sent a signal. I think I did. She turned and walked to the edge of the cave, heart racing. If your people come here, she said, they'll bring weapons. They'll burn our forests again. You don't know what they did the last time they came. The boy looked at her, but I don't remember doing anything bad. That doesn't mean they won't. Jera sat down, breathing fast. The boy crawled over, sitting beside her. Thank you for saving me, he said softly. Jera looked at him. Why did I save you? She whispered. I don't even know. Maybe, the boy said, because you saw that I was human, and not a monster. Jera's eyes locked with his. Outside, the sky was clear now. Stars filled the sky. Somewhere out there, a signal was flying through space. Someone was listening. And someone was coming. The hidden signal. The stars above the ice world blinked softly, like they were watching. Jera couldn't sleep. She sat beside the cave wall, her spear across her lap. The fire had died down to red glowing stones. The boy slept quietly near the firs. He had stopped shaking. His face looked calm. But Jera was not calm. That signal he sent, it was out there now. Somebody might hear it, and not everyone who hears a signal comes to help. The next morning, Jera woke to the sound of soft humming. She sat up fast and saw the boy crouched near the back of the cave. He was holding the silver beacon. The blue light blinked once every few seconds. What are you doing? Jera asked quickly. He looked at her, trying to understand. He pointed to the ground where he had drawn a picture using a stick. Circles, stars, and a broken pod. This signal, he said, I think it's calling something. Not just a rescue ship. Jera narrowed her eyes. What do you mean? I think this device doesn't just send out location, he said. I think it connects to a place. Maybe even a base. Jera stepped closer. A human base. He shook his head. No, something else. He touched his head. I keep seeing images. Metal towers. Red lights. Doors that don't open unless you bleed. Jera blinked. That sounds like war tech. Old war tech. We thought it was all destroyed. The boy stared at the blinking light. I don't think I came here alone, he whispered. That afternoon, they both returned to the crash site. The sky was dark, but the wind had calmed. Jera led the way, her spear ready. The boy moved slowly, still weak, but stronger than before. He looked around as they walked. Something about the frozen mountains felt familiar to him, like a dream just out of reach. They reached the broken pod. Half buried in snow and ice, it looked like a metal coffin. Bird marks covered its side. Inside, wires sparked softly. And next to it, a black box, completely untouched. Jera stepped back. Don't touch it, she said. It might be a trap. But the boy moved forward. His hand hovered over the box. Then, without warning, the box glowed. A voice spoke. Unit B-12. Status. Abandoned. Emergency activation in 6 days. Coordinates confirmed. Awaiting response. The voice was cold. Robotic. No emotion. Jera's heart pounded. What is that? I think, the boy said. It's a signal tower. Something is waiting. Something that will wake up in 6 days. Jera pulled him back. We need to destroy it. But the boy looked at her. What if it holds the answers? What if this can tell me who I am? Jera hesitated, then nodded. We take it, but we hide it. Back in the cave, the box sat between them. The fire glowed bright again. The boy stared at it for a long time. Then he asked, why do your people hate mine so much? Jera looked into the fire. Because when the sky burned, she said slowly, our people ran to the forests. Your machines followed. Trees died. Rivers turned to black. Animals screamed in silence. And then the humans left. But we stayed broken. The boy looked down. Maybe I'm one of the bad ones, he said. Jera shook her head. You were freezing in the snow. No weapon, no hate, just fear. That's not what monsters look like. They sat in silence. Then the boy asked softly, "Will you give me a name?" Jera looked surprised. "You don't have one?" she asked. He shook his head. "I only remember sounds, fire, and stars." Jera thought for a moment. Then she smiled. "Your name will be Kale," she said. "It means light that returns in our tongue." The boy smiled gently. "Kale," he said. "I like that." But peace didn't last. That night, while Kale slept, Jera left the cave. She needed answers. She needed to speak with someone she trusted. Her old mentor, Iran. He lived far from the village, deep in the forest of ice spears. Jera moved fast. She knew the paths well. Iran was old. He had once been a warrior. He knew about the war, the skyfire, the humans, the signals. She reached his hut just before dawn. He stepped out, surprised to see her. "Jera," he said, "what are you doing here?" "I need your help," she said. And then she told him everything. About the boy. About the pod. About the beacon. Iran listened quietly. Then he looked into the sky. "If that beacon was activated," he said, "then something else will wake too." Jera frowned. "What do you mean?" Iran turned toward his house and came back holding an old book. He opened it. Inside, a drawing of a tall machine with 6 legs, glowing red eyes, and human markings. "This was left behind by the first humans," Iran said. "They called it a Titan guard." Jera's eyes widened. "A weapon?" Iran nodded. "They sleep beneath the ice, but when they hear the right signal." Jera's hands began to shake. She whispered, "Kale didn't mean to." Iran shook his head. "It's not his fault. But now that the signal has been sent, the countdown has begun." Back in the cave, Kale sat awake, staring at the blinking box. He didn't know why, but the rhythm of the light felt familiar. 1. Pause. 2. Pause. 3. His hand twitched. His heart raced. Something inside him was changing. And she called out, "Kale." No answer. She saw the box was still there, but Kale was gone. Her heart sank. She followed the crack in the stone. She had never gone this deep before. She stepped through the metal door and froze. Kale was standing in front of the glass tank. He turned slowly. His eyes were full of pain. "I remember now," he said. Jera stepped closer. "What is this place?" He told her everything. About the mission. About the Titan. About his betrayal. He finished by whispering, "I was supposed to wake that thing. I was the key." Jera didn't speak for a long time. Then she placed her hand on his. "You didn't wake it," she said. "You stopped it." Kale looked at her, "But now it's counting down." Jera stepped back. "Then we stop it together." They searched the room for answers. Wires, screens, control panels. Jera found an old manual. It showed the Titan's design. Weak points, systems, the shutdown code. But they needed access. Kale stared at the core panel. "I need to connect to it. Use my blood, my mind." Jera frowned. "That could kill you." Kale nodded. "It's the only way." Jera held his arm. "If you die," she said softly, "I will lose more than a friend." Kale looked into her eyes. "Then let's make sure I don't." Far below the cave, the Titan's systems woke. Hydraulics hissed. Eyes began to glow. And in the silence, a voice echoed in the dark. "Unit online. Searching for command. She fights her own people." The wind had changed. It no longer howled like a storm. It whispered, soft, sharp, dangerous. Jera could feel it in her bones. Something was coming. She stood at the mouth of the cave, her spear in hand. Beside her, Kale checked the beacon device again. The countdown glowed red. 4 days, 2 hours, 11 minutes. Below them, the Titan was waking, but something else had woken too. The tribe. They arrived without warning. 5 hunters, all dressed in thick bone armor, painted faces, cold eyes, and leading them, Jera's older brother, Derek. His voice echoed in the snow. Jera, show yourself. Jera didn't move at first. Her heart was heavy. She had hoped for more time. She had hoped they would never find her. But they had. She stepped out slowly, spear lowered. I'm here, she said calmly. Derek marched forward. His face was not angry. It was worse. It was disappointed. You've been hiding something, he said. We followed your tracks. We found pieces of a human pod. Jera said nothing. Another hunter stepped up. Where is he? Jera looked them all in the eyes. He's not a danger. He's a human, Derek snapped. He is always a danger. Then Kale stepped out of the cave. His hands were up, his body still weak, but his eyes were clear. I'm not your enemy, he said. The hunters raised their weapons instantly. One of them shouted, kill him before it's too late. Jera moved fast, placing herself between Kale and the hunters. No, she shouted. No one touches him. Derek stepped forward. Move, Jera. I won't, she said. Why are you protecting him? Derek asked. He's one of the Skyburners. Jera pointed her spear at the ground. Because he saved me, she said. And I saved him. That makes us even. Derek's jaw tightened. He doesn't belong here. He remembers the Titan, she said. He's trying to stop it, not wake it. The hunters looked at each other. Kale spoke up, voice firm. The beacon was sent before I knew who I was, but now I do. I was part of a mission to take this land, but I was betrayed, left behind. I didn't choose war. I chose to say no. That's why they tried to kill me. Derek stepped closer. You expect us to believe you, a human. Jera's voice rose. He chose peace, just like I chose to save him. For a moment, there was only silence. Then Derek raised his hand. I name you broken, Jera, he said. No longer one of the Iceblood tribe. Jera's heart dropped. Kale moved forward. You don't have to do this. But she didn't look away. If protecting him means exile, Jera said, then I will walk alone. Derek threw a sharp metal shard on the snow. The tribe's symbol. You are no longer my sister, he said coldly. The hunters turned. They walked away. Back in the cave, Jera sat in silence. Kale stood beside her. You didn't have to do that, he said softly. I did, she replied. You're trying to stop the Titan. That's more than most would do. You deserve someone who believes in you. Kale sat down. But now you've lost everything. Jera looked at him. No, I didn't lose everything. She smiled. I still have you. The next day, the snow came hard. A real storm. Jera and Kale worked fast. They used old tools from the Titan chamber. They mapped the system, found weak spots. Jera's knowledge of the ice, Kale's knowledge of machines. Together, they built a plan. That night, Kale had another memory. He was back on the human ship, standing before a general. You'll obey, Commander Rain. Wake the Titan. We don't ask questions. Kale had replied, what if there's still life down there? The general had only smiled. Then burn it. Kale woke up gasping. Jera held his shoulder. Bad dream. He nodded. They're coming, Jera. Not just the Titan. The people who sent me. They'll come when they hear the beacon. Jera stood up. Then we'll be ready. But the tribe wasn't done. The next day, a single hunter returned. Taka, Jera's cousin. He came alone, holding no weapon. I don't agree with Derek, he said. I believe you. I saw the machine rise through the ice years ago. They buried it again. But it was never dead. Jera and Kale looked at each other. We need to shut it down before it finishes waking, Kale said. Taka nodded. Then I'll help. The three of them worked together. They climbed inside the Titan chamber, planted charges on the energy cores, wired the system to overload. But time was running out. 3 days, 3 hours, 25 minutes. Then the ground shook. Hard. A deep groan echoed through the cave. Kale ran to the tank. The Titan was moving now, slowly, testing its limbs. Its red eyes flickered. Jera whispered, "We're almost too late." Kale looked at her. "I need to go inside its mind," he said. "It still thinks I'm the commander. If I can connect to it, maybe I can stop it." Jera's hand shook. "That could kill you." Kale nodded. "Or it could save your world." Outside, the sky darkened. In the far distance, ships were entering orbit. The humans were coming. The Titan was waking. And in the cave, a human boy and an alien girl stood hand in hand, ready to fight the future, together. Earth responds. The ground trembled. It wasn't a small shake. This was something big, something ancient, something that had been waiting for a long time. The Titan's red eyes flickered to life. Kale stood in front of it. His body ached, his mind still recovering from the memories that rushed back. He had been this machine's commander once. He had helped bring it to life. He had been a part of the destruction. But that was not who he was now. Not anymore. Jera stood beside him. Her breath was slow and steady, her blue eyes filled with determination. "If you go inside its mind," she started, "it could kill you." Kale looked at her, a faint smile on his face. "It's the only way to stop it." She didn't respond. There was nothing she could say. The Titan was too close to waking. They had no time left. Inside the chamber, the air felt thick with energy. It was as though the very walls of the cave were holding their breath. The Titan's metal body shifted slowly, its joints grinding as it stood up, its enormous form casting a shadow over the room. Jera looked up at it, fear creeping into her chest, but she forced it down. They had to do this. The Titan had to be stopped, and only Kale could reach its mind. Kale stepped forward, his hand reaching out towards the Titan's chest, where a soft pulse of light shone beneath the metal. He could feel its power, its strength, its need to obey. "Kale, wait," Jera said, grabbing his arm. "We still have time. We can destroy it together." He shook his head gently. "If I don't do this, it will kill everyone. You have to trust me." Jera nodded, though her heart pounded. She wanted to stop him, to tell him to stay. But she knew that this was his fight, his redemption. "I trust you," she whispered. Kale closed his eyes, drawing a deep breath. He let the air fill his lungs, steadying himself. The air around the Titan was crackling with energy now, as if it could sense him. The machine's mind was ancient, wired into the fabric of the planet itself. It had been waiting for the signal, waiting for a command, waiting for someone to wake it. Kale reached out, placing his hand on the metal surface. Immediately, a flood of memories, sensations, and images hit him. Flashes of the past. His mission, the destruction of the forests, the cold, endless hunger of war, the faces of his comrades, the cold, heartless orders from the general. But this time, something was different. He fought against the wave of memories and reached deeper. He felt the pulse of the Titan's thoughts. Cold, mechanical, empty. The Titan had no real mind of its own. It was a weapon. But it was more than that. It had been given purpose. It had been programmed. "Titan," Kale whispered, "you don't have to follow them." The Titan's systems hummed, a low, menacing sound. "I am Unit Theta 07. Command code required." The Titan's voice echoed inside Kale's mind. "Command code. Commander Kale Rain. Command. Obey." Kale gripped the metal harder, his fingers digging into the cold surface. "No, I reject your orders." The Titan's eyes glowed brighter, its limbs shifting with power. The ground shook again. "No," Cale shouted, his voice stronger this time. "I choose to stop this." He could feel the Titan's programming, its long built-in instinct to fight, to destroy, to conquer. But deep inside, there was a part of it that still remembered. There was a trace of humanity left in the machine. Cale had given it that. He had been the one to set it free. The Titan's pulse slowed. Its systems flickered. "Override. Command." The Titan's voice was softer now, confused. "Warning. System conflict detected. User, human." Cale's mind burned with energy as he fought to hold the connection. "I was a part of this once," Cale said, his voice hoarse. "But I will never be again. I choose humanity. I choose life." Outside, the storm had stopped. The sky was dark, but the stars shone brighter than ever. Then the ground shook again, stronger, harder. Jera stepped back. She could feel the earth move beneath her feet. Something was happening. Far above, something else stirred. A flash of light filled the sky. Ships, dozens of ships, human ships. They were here. Cale's grip tightened. He could feel the Titan's mind weakening, its programming breaking down. But just as it seemed like victory was within reach, something else happened. Something terrible. The Titan's systems began to reboot. A deep rumble filled the cave, followed by a loud cracking sound. The countdown timer on the beacon stopped. "Warning. Time expired. New command received." Cale's heart skipped a beat. "No," he whispered. They've sent the command again." A new signal was coming. The ships above the planet descended, their engines roaring through the atmosphere. Their weapons were armed. They were coming to take what they had lost. Cale had no time left. He looked over at Jera, who was watching him with wide eyes. "They're coming," he said, his voice filled with urgency. "We can't stop them unless the Titan's systems are shut down completely." Jera stepped forward. "Then we fight." Cale nodded, stepping back from the Titan. "We have no choice now. We fight together." The Titan was still struggling to process its commands, caught between Cale's plea and the new orders coming from the human ships above. The Titan's limbs shifted, the machine waking, but it wasn't quite ready. Not yet. And that was all they needed. The cave shook as the machines above began to move toward the surface. They were close. Cale looked at Jera. "We need to prepare. They'll be here soon." She nodded. "We don't have much time. But we won't give up. Not now." From the edge of the cave, the first of the human soldiers appeared. Metal suits, shining and cold. Their faces hidden beneath helmets. They had come for one thing: control. And the Titan was their weapon. But Cale wasn't ready to let them take it. Not again. The war was not over. This time, they would fight for the future. "He calls her family." The ground trembled again. But this time, it wasn't the Titan. This time, it was the ships. Cale and Jera stood side by side at the entrance of the cave, staring out into the vast, frozen landscape. The ships above them hovered like giant shadows, their engines humming softly as they descended. Soldiers lined the edges of their landing craft, ready for battle. They had come for one thing: control. Cale clenched his fists. "They won't stop," he said. "Not unless we make them." Jera stood tall beside him, her spear ready. She had nothing left to lose. Her tribe had exiled her. The world around her was crumbling. But she still had one thing: Cale. Her family. The Titan stirred once more. Its metal joints creaked as it rose from its resting place, its red eyes glowing. The countdown had stopped, but the machine was still functional, still dangerous. The human ships were preparing to land, but they weren't here to rescue anyone. They were here to take what they believed was theirs. The ground shook as the Titan took its first step forward. It wasn't fully under Cale's control yet. It was still confused, its mind torn between the programming it had once followed and the connection Cale had tried to make with it. Jera turned to Kale. We can't stop them if they wake it up completely. Cal's face hardened. Then we'll fight. But, Jera started, the Titan still has its power. If they connect to it again, everything will be lost. Kale nodded. I know. That's why we have to keep them from reaching it. If the Titan wakes, it will follow their command. It will become the weapon they always wanted. Jera looked out at the ships above. How do we fight them? They have so much power. Cal's eyes met hers. We fight because we have something they'll never understand. We have each other. We have something they lost when they chose war. The ships were almost here. The first one landed with a thundering roar, its landing gear screeching as it hit the icy surface. Soldiers poured out, armed and ready, their metal suits shining in the dim light. Kale looked at Jera. They'll come for the Titan first. We need to stop them before they get close. Jera nodded, her face set in determination. Then we do this together. The battle began. Jera and Kale moved quickly, using the terrain to their advantage. Jera darted behind rocks, using her speed and agility to avoid the soldiers' fire. She struck quickly, disarming one of them with a well-placed thrust of her spear. Kale was more methodical. He used his knowledge of the Titan's systems to disable the incoming ship's communication lines. Each time a soldier tried to contact their commanders, the signal would go dead. The human soldiers didn't know what hit them. For a brief moment, it seemed like they might have a chance. But then they saw it. The Titan. It was moving again, its metal limbs creaking as it stood tall. Its red eyes flickered to life, and the ground shook beneath its weight. Cal's heart sank. They're trying to connect to it. Jera shouted. Kale turned to her, his face tight with determination. We stopped them here. Now. Jera looked at him, her eyes filled with fear and trust. I'm with you, always. As the human soldiers charged toward the Titan, Kale and Jera raced forward, trying to beat them to the machine. The Titan's systems were slowly coming back online. Its massive legs moved in slow, deliberate steps, as though it was waking up from a long, deep sleep. But this time, Kale was ready. He reached the control panel first, his hand slamming against the buttons that would connect him to the Titan's mind. His fingers bulled from the pressure, but he didn't stop. He had to make it work. Kale, no, Jera shouted, running toward him. Kale closed his eyes, feeling the cold metal beneath his hands. He could feel the Titan's thoughts, struggling to break free from the human commands. He could feel the machine's power building inside him. The memories of the past, the mission, the destruction, the betrayal, all flooded his mind. But this time, he had control. He didn't fight the machine. He joined it. He became one with it. The Titan's red eyes flickered again. And then, everything stopped. The battlefield fell silent. Kale stood before the Titan, his heart racing. The soldiers were frozen in place, staring at the massive machine. It was no longer following their commands. It was his to control. Jera stood beside him, her hand on her spear. She watched as the human soldiers took a step back, unsure of what to do. Kale turned to them, his voice steady. This machine won't fight for you anymore. It won't destroy anything else. You'll leave this world, and you won't come back. The soldiers hesitated. We didn't ask for this, one of them said, lowering his weapon. We were following orders. Cal's eyes softened, but his voice remained firm. Then go home, before it's too late. The human soldiers, now unsure of their mission, turned and boarded their ships. The Titan, once a weapon of war, stood silent behind Kale, no longer a threat. Its red eyes dimmed, and it lowered its massive form, returning to its dormant state. Jera looked at Kale. We did it. Kale nodded, his body exhausted but his spirit stronger than ever. He turned to her. We did it together. Jera stepped forward, her face softening. Kale, there's something I need to say. Kale looked at her, his expression unreadable. What is it? Jera took a deep breath. You're not just a part of this mission. You're not just a soldier. You're family. You're my family." Cal's heart swelled. He had never known what it meant to have a family, not until now. Not until Jera. He stepped forward, taking her hand in his. "You're my family too. I may have forgotten where I came from, but you gave me a place to belong." Jera smiled. And for the first time, Cal felt peace. Real peace. The storm above cleared, and the stars shone bright in the sky. The human ships were gone. The Titan was still. And in the silence, Cal and Jera stood together, ready to rebuild what had been lost. They had fought together. They had faced the darkest parts of their pasts and come through it stronger, together. And for the first time, Cal didn't feel alone. He had a family, and they would face whatever came next, side by side.